Okay gang, here we are then, video with short week coaching. I'm here with Jim, if you'd like to introduce yourself first, Jim.
Yeah, I'm Jim and Ollie. I'm an osteopath. I work out of the Livelong group at the Livelong Clinic. I'm an osteopath since 2015 and I've been helping Stuart for a number of years managing marathon and running related injuries.
Cheers mate, and we're also with Ollie.
Yeah, so I'm Ollie. I'm here as the yoga teacher and FRC mobility specialist at Livelong. So yeah, pleasure of working with Jim for a good few years now, I suppose. Probably short but sweet. Jim gets them out of pain, I keep people out of pain.
Superb. So just a bit of background then, I came to see Jim a couple of weeks ago. Around a month ago I was at work and on the method of entry rig at work and pushed up on this piece of kit and felt a bit of a pull on the base of my spine or around the bottom of my back. So got progressively worse over 3 or 4 days and came to see Jim, who diagnosed me with...
So Stuart had given himself quite a nasty bilateral deep hip flexor strain. So the deep hip flexors, two muscles that run through the body. They start with the psoas muscle that attaches to the lumbar spine here. They come diagonally through the body and attach into the front of the femur here. And those muscles' job, when they're in movement, they contract like this, is to elevate the hip like that, hip flexion. What had happened in Stuart's case is that both of those muscles had become really tight, really contracted. That had led to him having his spine pulled into extension through there and had made his lower back extremely painful, extremely uncomfortable. So when I saw him, I think 3 weeks ago now for the first time, focus was firstly on trying to get him out of pain as quickly as we could do using a combination of acupuncture, low-level laser therapy and manual mobilisation, and then giving him some progressive exercises to work on to reduce the discomfort, seeing him again fairly quickly after that, so that he could then have some more hands-on manual work, some active release therapy through the deep hip flexors, which he really didn't enjoy in the slightest. And then today it's to finish off sort of some work into his glute muscles, which have been bearing a lot of strain, a lot of stress as a consequence of the way that he's been walking for the last 3 weeks. Pleased to say that actually over the last couple of weeks he's been coming in. First time that I saw him, he was walking in this very flexed posture like this. He was really uncomfortable, wasn't actually able to stand upright and move properly through his lumbar spine. By the end of the first treatment, he was able to actually stand upright. The following time I saw him, he was able to stand upright and walk more effectively. And then now coming in today, we were just topping and tailing those last little bits of musculoskeletal pain that had led him to come see me in the first instance. That largely being done now, has been given some homework to do from me, using a golf ball into a couple of deep soft tissue releases I want him to work on, and then guidance about how to apply that properly through there. And having completed that treatment session, that's when I handed it over to Ollie, because as Ollie very nicely summarised, actually, my job is I get people out of pain as quickly as possible, and then where there are complicated biomechanical matters involved in the presentation of that pain, Ollie keeps them out of pain.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically over to me today. Now that got you actually moving, there's no point for me to kind of come in and say, let's see how well you can move if there is no movement. So basically, Jim's going to actively release things and get things moving to a point where Stuart can actually start training, just maybe in a more effective way for what's kind of the prerequisite for what he's wanting to do, especially with running, but also apparently lifting silly things over his head at work. What I essentially did is actively looked at his joint range of motion, and I can see straight away that he didn't, I kind of tend to say, he didn't have a shoulder, he didn't have a hip. And what I mean with that, yeah, it's a bit more of a brief concept, but the idea is essentially you don't have one that functions in the way it's supposed to. So, what we looked at is your kind of active shoulder flexion, kind of bringing the arm up. If you want to lift something over the head, it should be over here without any compression through, low back, scapula having to get involved. But essentially, what we kind of figured is actually you can lift your arm without here, without anything else moving. So when we looked at that, we said, well, you then added load to an area that is only ever going to compensate if you try and lift it further. So, when we tried to lift the arm a little bit higher, we noticed scapula got involved. There was that lordosis that essentially, or hyperlordosis in that context. started putting a lot of strain through his lower lumbar, and everything that Jim identified had to get involved to essentially protect his spine. So this was the first thing, and then obviously as a keen runner, I really wanted to have a look completely at lower limb and how that was affecting, because Jim was kind of saying, yeah, his hip doesn't seem to want to extend. So I looked at that, I said, oh, cool, you don't have a hip as well. So, my job now is to build a hip, build a shoulder, so you can start overhead pressing within a comfortable range so that we don't have the compensation patterns that lead to injury. Now with building a hip now, we've assessed that there isn't, again, much internal rotation in the ball and socket joint. We know if there isn't internal rotation, you're kind of losing about 50% of your actual range of motion that you should be using. So with running, great, you can lift your leg forward, you can start your run, but if you can't take the leg behind you, you're not really going anywhere. So we're now trying to look at essentially teaching you how to extend your hip properly and in a comfortable motion, so then we can get you exercising through that, and then essentially keep you injury free. It was what we'd like. Again, if you do things out of the active range of motion that you can control, something's going to compensate, and that's when I kind of have to go and see Jim again to get you out of work, and then I go, told you not to do that, and then we have to work around it. So essentially, yeah, we're now looking at building your hip and building your shoulder, and then putting you through exercises that are only going to build upon that, keep you injury free.
Yeah. So you mentioned that we had a quick chat before we went on camera about, I was saying in my mind I can go backwards because I do that, but you made a really articulate point and saying, well, actually by going backwards I'm using the wrong parts of my body.
Yeah, essentially what happened there is the moment I brought, kind of guided you into bringing your hip into internal rotation and then extension, I said, well, it's not your hip that's moving. Look at what you've done. You completely leant forward like this. So essentially, the spine took the load out of the hip. So in other words, you can't move what you can't move. The hip didn't know how to move in that range of motion, but the spine did. The spine went, oh, I can go that way, so I'll help you out. But then essentially, what we kind of found earlier is the spine took the load, and that's why it came in with low back pain. So yeah, we think we can take the leg behind us, and I went, no, you can't. Which sounds maybe harsh or whatever, but we're looking at now training that range of motion so that you can actively control it, and then the spine won't get involved, and then we'll be out of pain.
So it's going to help me from a reduction in an injury potential as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's making me more biomechanically sound.
It's creating prerequisites. That's essentially my job, is to go, you like doing that, let's create a prerequisite so that you can do it. Like I said, if you aren't taking the leg behind you well, what makes you think you could run? You don't have that active range of motion in your hips. That's where a lot of your power comes from. Let's condition that, let's train you how to do that, and then your running is just going to be easy from there. It'll feel a lot easier if you've always been doing it in a compensated way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Jim, you talked very briefly about whereby my back was my initial problem, but then I felt problems with my glutes, so when I started to try and go on a treadmill yesterday, I just got this searing pain basically in my bum, basically. Yeah. And that's just referred pain, is that right?
It was, essentially that, where you had been walking with sort of leant forward in this posture like this, all of your body weight sort of being up and above your bodies, above your hips in this nice neutral position. You've been rolled forward like this. All of that body mass is now being supported and held up by this posterior chain of muscles running down the back through here. So even after we brought you back upright to this upright position, we're releasing the hip flexors, getting your spine to be able to stabilise upright. That stress, that strain that had been going on through those gluteal muscles remained, and it was the last little part that needed sort of active work being put through there to actually help it get itself better. And now all one has to do is just continue working with those external rotation exercises that Ollie's helped you develop to take the load off of those muscles. But it was most noticeable to you when you were working on the treadmill because of the mechanics of how you run, about the mechanics of how you've been using your hip. Those muscles do become very overused and very active in there, and they've become very tight as a consequence of that. So the long-term fix with the exercises Ollie's designed for you will allow those muscles to become more elastic, more effectively used when you're actually running. So they'll get a better range of movement through your hip, which will increase not only your running efficiency, but also reduce your soreness post-training, and also your ability to actually continue the distances you're looking to do.
Thank you very much. So you fixed me,
Yeah.
and you're going to make me.
Yeah, build a hip, build a shoulder.
Well, there was
anything else.
There was a knee and a foot and a toe in there as well, wasn't there? You know, you basically ruined me before I'm going to walk out today.
Essentially, yeah.
All right, thanks, mate. It's been good to work with you. Jim, thanks very much.
See you soon.
Guys, if anyone's watching and they want a bit of help and advice, where's the best place to contact you both?
So yeah, come on the Livelong website, so www.livelonglimitedltd.com. You can see bios on all of the therapists who work out here. We offer everything from osteopathy and acupuncture for humans and animals, right the way through sports massage therapy, movement and one-to-one yoga with Ollie, Pilates classes, yoga classes, and we have a wide variety of practitioners that we refer to. If there's something that we think you benefit from that's not within the group, then we know people to send you to. That you can call us on 01473 652 509, and our reception team will be able to book you from that.
That's a proper sales pitch, isn't it?
It's not bad, is it?
Almost like you've read that.
And where that came from, it's all sounded remarkably articulate for me.
Okay, listen guys, thanks for watching. I guess the message in there is try and build your strength before you get injured, really.
Yeah.
These guys can help you do that. It's massively important. You don't get a better runner by running more alone. You have to put a lot of other work into it as well. And it's taken me a long time to work that out. But lovely. Unedited, this will go straight on. So have a good day everyone. See you later.